you've been watching my channel recently, you know that I'm building a steel road bike, and it has a really nice gloss orange paint finish. But unfortunately, because it is a steel frame, it's prone to chipping. So I'm going to show you how you can protect your bike with some Heli tape. The first thing I did is order some Heli tape from Bike Armor. It really doesn't matter where you get your protective tape from. It could be from the auto parts store. Lots of places sell something that's suitable, but I got mine from Bike Armor, and it's a really nice product. It comes as a strip of tape. It was rolled up tightly when I got it, so I've been pressing it flat by putting it under books and underneath a ruler to get it nice and flat so I can work with it. But I need to cut this down into a strip that will fit onto the parts of the bike that I want to protect. I've already done the down tube, but now I'm going to do the back of the seat tube. Earlier I measured the back of the seat tube with my digital caliper, and I found out it's 1¼ inches in diameter. So if I multiply that by pi, I get the circumference of the seat tube, which is about 4 inches, and I want to have protection around about 25% or 30% of the back of that seat tube. So that means that my strip of tape needs to be about 1 inch wide. As it comes from Bike Armor, this tape is considerably wider. It's more like 1½ inch wide. So I'm going to cut this down to 1 inch wide using a metal straight edge and a sharp X-Acto blade. I've already marked the back of the tape with a 1 inch wide width, so I'm just going to line this up with my cutting mat, the grid on my cutting mat, and I'm also going to line it up with my straight edge, and then I'm going to cut it down to 1 inch wide. One thing I'm going to do is make the end of the tape really square. Alright, so that is nice and square. I've measured the back of my seat tube, and I know that below the derailleur clamp I need about 3½ inches of tape, and above the derailleur clamp I need about 10½ or 11 inches of tape. So I'm going to measure from the nice square end of the tape that I've made here. I'm going to measure out a 3½ inch piece and cut that off. And there we go. Now that I have two pieces of tape, one is 3½ inches long and one is 10½ inches long, I want to round the corners on these. And there's two reasons for that. The first is it'll make it look prettier, and the second reason is that it'll keep the corners from lifting. If I just put these on the bike with square corners, it would probably be okay, but eventually they would snag when I'm cleaning the bike and that kind of thing, and they would lift up or collect dirt. So what I want to do is put a nice radius on these. And to do that, I'm going to use this art tool that I got from Amazon. This is about 10 bucks on Amazon, and it cuts 4 different radiuses. I've made a little example here. You can see that there's a 10mm cut, 4mm, and 7mm. And I think for this piece of tape, I will use the 7mm corner to round off these two strips here. So with this the way this tool works is that you just slide the tape into the corner, make sure it's nice and square and snug in the corner, and then you press the lever, and it cuts off a nice rounded corner. We can do that around all 4 corners of these pieces of tape. There we go. Looks great. It already looks really nice and professional. There we go. That looks really good. Now to do the short piece that goes below the derailleur clamp. That looks great. So there are my two pieces of Heli tape that I'm going to put on my bike. This one is 3½ inches. It's going to go below the derailleur clamp. This one goes above the derailleur clamp on the back of the seat tube. The Heli tape can be applied to the bike dry or wet. I'm going to use the wet technique because it gives me more of a chance to reposition the tape if I get it in the wrong place. The first thing I want to do is clean any wax or oil off the frame. I did wax this frame earlier, so I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol and a paper towel, and I'm just going to really give it a good scrubbing to get any residual wax off the back of the seat tube. Alright, now that that's nice and clean, I'm ready to apply the tape. I have my 2 strips of tape, and I also have a small spray bottle of water. And this is just filtered tap water. And I'm going to spray the back of the seat tube and then position my pieces of tape where I want them, and the water will give me a chance to reposition the tape a little bit if I need to. So I'm going to peel the backing down slightly on this small piece of Heli tape and position the, I think maybe I'll do the bottom end kind of where I want it. Well, I'll do the top end, put the top end where I want it. And we'll make sure it's really well centered up in here. Alright, so that is nice and centered, and now I just have to work from the center of the Heli tape out towards the edge. I'm going to use a clean, dry paper towel to work from the center of the tape towards the edge and remove any water that gets squeezed out from under the tape as I go down and stick this tape in place. And as the water is removed, the tape adheres to the frame and stays where I put it. That actually looks really good to me. It's maybe a little hard to see with my head in the way, but it's really nicely centered in there. And it's covering the area where the tire comes close to the seat tube. Now that I've done the area below the derailleur clamp, I'm going to do the area above the derailleur clamp the same way. Just spray it with some water, line up the tape, and put it in place. Once the tape is applied to the bike and most of the water is out from underneath it, you can apply a little bit of heat to help set the edges down nice and smooth. I'm just using my heat gun on a very low setting, about setting 3, which is about like a hairdryer. One of the nicest things about this Heli tape is that once it's in place, it's almost impossible to tell it's there. It has a slightly more matte finish than the rest of the frame, but it's really hard to see. This looks really good to me at this point. It's nice and straight. The edges are stuck down well, so I'm going to call it good and finish assembling the bike. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you need to protect your frame, it's really easy to do, a really nice custom job. I think the key elements are the use of the radius cutter to round the corners of the tape. That's about it. But I really like the way this came out. So, hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.